Welcome everybody, I'm Matt. If you're new to this channel, we help you in your personal growth and success journey by studying and inspiring people and producing motivational content. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button. You'll get notifications for new videos every week. We all have things in our lives that scare us. Just the thought of doing them might be enough to get the heart racing. And we might hide from the things that we're afraid of. We might look the other way, pretend they don't exist, bury our head in the sand. But here comes the bad news. Often it's these things that scare us the most that we need to willingly confront, because if we don't, they don't just go away. They keep coming up in our lives over and over. And if we're completely honest with ourselves, deep down, we know this. Now, this idea isn't new. We see it in so many old stories or Disney movies where there's a prince who has to leave the protection, the safety of his own parents' home, go out in the world to make his own way, to slay a dragon so that he can save the princess. The dragon is a symbol for the thing he's most afraid of. And he doesn't just have to face the dragon. He has to voluntarily confront it. He has to actively seek it out. And it's only when he does this that he can be set free, that he can transform into the king or to the prince that he's supposed to be. We see this in the Harry Potter story as well. Harry Potter's biggest fear is Voldemort. It's the thing he's consumed with, he's obsessed with. And he knows that someday he has to defeat Voldemort. It has to be him. He has to voluntarily pursue him. And the thing is, Voldemort isn't just sitting there on the sidelines waiting for Harry to show up someday. He's actually getting stronger. He's waiting for a moment of weakness from Harry that he can capitalize on. And it's the same with our fears. It's the same with the things that we are afraid of. They don't get smaller. They don't get weaker as time goes on. Often they get bigger. They get stronger. They get harder to tackle. They become more of a challenge. And that's why it's so important that we face them and face them as soon as possible. Because the longer we wait, the harder it will often get. And like so many fears that we have, Voldemort is also actually a part of Harry. We all have our own demons. What is your dragon to be slain? What are you hiding from? There's a TV show I was watching recently where there's this girl who keeps having these reoccurring nightmares about drowning in a lake. Now, she used to absolutely love swimming. It was her favorite thing to do. But night after night, she's waking up covered in sweat, screaming, terrified because of these nightmares. And then they're tormenting her. At that point, she can't even dare go near a swimming pool. She eventually tells her dad, who in the dead of winter decides to bring her out into a frozen lake. He cracks a hole in the ice and tells her to get in. Now this girl, she's 7 or 8 years old. She's terrified. She's afraid. But her dad insists, and eventually she just lowers herself in the water and starts treading. Is she afraid? Absolutely. Is she scared? For sure. She's freezing. What she realized in that moment, that the pain that she was enduring in that water was nothing compared to the torment that she was enduring night after night because of the nightmares. And after that day, she never had a nightmare about drowning again. And she was able to go back to swimming, which was the thing she loved to do. The point of this story, though, is that often there's things that we're afraid of. There's things that scare us, that we end up building up in our minds to be these huge things, these impossible things. But often if we just pull the band-aid off, if we jump in the pool, if we just face them head on, they're not as bad as we built them up in our heads. And if we can face it and overcome it, we won't have to deal with any of that mental anguish going forward. This is definitely something that I've experienced as well, maybe not to the extreme extent of some of these stories, but I can remember times, even say in my teens, say I'm in school and I have to do a presentation. I know a week ahead I'm going to have to do it, and it's in front of the class or multiple classes. And I'm nervous about it. I'm scared about doing it. And every time I think about it, it makes me anxious. And it feels like it's going to be this huge thing, like it has these massive consequences. But then when I actually get up and do it, in that moment, if I can just stop and check in with my body and see, how do I actually feel right then and there? I would notice that it was never as bad as I'd built it up in my head that it could be. And how often do we do this to ourselves? Have you had something that you were afraid of doing for a long, long time, but when you actually did it, you realized it was much easier than you thought it was going to be? Or it was nothing compared to how difficult you had imagined it. So let me ask you, what's the fear that you know you need to face? It could be the fear of being alone, causing you to stay in a relationship that you deep down know is not right. It could be the fear of leaving a job you hate because it's too risky to try something else. Or maybe there's a business idea that you always wanted to try to take a leap of faith on, but you're afraid what other people are going to think. Maybe you want to take a chance on something, but it might not work out and you're afraid that it won't work, so you don't even try. That's why facing your fear is brave. You're going all in on something. You're giving it everything you have, and still, it might not work. But the reality is that by doing the thing that scares us, that's how we transform. That's how we get to the next level. When we bottle it up and just pretend it's not there, it never really goes away. It eats away at us. And we might think that we're protecting ourselves by avoiding it, but by doing nothing, that's a choice as well. And over time, inaction can do much more damage to you, to your confidence, to your self-respect, to your character. When we voluntarily confront the thing that scares us most, when we dare to step forward, to be brave, to walk out onto the field, often that thing that we're afraid of, or our dragon, it's the thing that you've been dreading for so long. It's not nearly as bad as you thought it was going to be. There's a quote that I really like from Mark Twain. He says, "A coward dies 1,000 deaths, but the valiant tastes death but once." The burden we place on ourselves by reliving the fear of something that hasn't even happened over and over again in our minds can be massively exaggerated. Jumping into that pool or ripping off the band-aid is often the hardest, but the best option. And once you face the thing that scares you most, you're going to notice something interesting. That you are actually a lot stronger than you thought. That you are capable of much more than you thought. That you can get through the challenges, the fears, that you can overcome it. And that you can do things that you never thought you could. And as a result of doing that, you get stronger. Now you can take on even more in your life, take on even more challenge. And what happens then? Well, then the next dragon emerges, the next fear, the next challenge pops up. And what do? Well, you armor up and you face that one. And that's all we can do. Just keep doing the next best thing, the next right action, the next best thing we know how. And that's life. If you keep doing this, you will be shocked at how strong you can become. Because there's no ceiling to this. There's no limit to it. You can keep doing it over and over and over. And the result is going to be that you will know in your gut that you trust yourself to face the thing that scares you most and overcome them. And that will give you the confidence to live a life that's true to who you are. And you're going to be capable of doing more and more of the things that matter to you most. And this is going to be far more than you ever thought was possible. I hope you liked the video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe. You'll get new videos on inspiring people and motivational content. Be sure to check out some of the other videos as well. They'll be popping up on the left-hand side here and in the description below. And if there's any YouTubers, YouTube channels, or topics you'd like to see me cover, let me know in the comments as well. That's it for me, guys. Thanks for joining me. I'm Matt. See you next time.